There's a certain kind of person who can be handed an entire free afternoon, nothing due, nobody waiting, and lose the whole thing inside 10 minutes. They sink onto the couch, and almost at once, something in them stands back up. A shelf gets straightened that was already fine. A phone comes out just to check one thing. Rest quietly turns into a small errand because the other option, sitting there doing nothing at all, trips an alarm they could not name. If you've ever felt that job of guilt the second you sat down to relax, this is about the thing that fires it. And by the end, you will see it is not the thing you think it is. Start with the ordinary version because nearly everyone has a little of it. We grow up inside a simple exchange. You make something and the world hands approval back. A finished chore, a decent grade, a box with a check in it, and a small hit of "you are okay." Do it 10,000 times and the brain stops waiting on the world. It starts issuing the approval itself on delivery. So when you stop producing, the supply stops, and a low hum of unease moves into the space it used to fill. That hum is not a flaw. It is a receipt, proof the exchange ran. Most people feel it faintly and move on. But for some people, the exchange never stayed an exchange. It quietly became the whole account. Psychologists have a name for it: contingent self-worth. It's when being worth something is not a floor you stand on, but a level you have to keep topping up or it drops. For these people, rest is not a guilty pleasure. It's a withdrawal with nothing coming in. And underneath, it does not read as laziness at all. It reads as starting to disappear. So understand what you're up against. Nearly every fix out there was built for the person who needs a push to start. Almost none for the person who cannot put the work down. If the usual advice has never worked on you, that's not you failing it. It was never built for you. Watch how it actually fires.
The first day of a vacation sits heavier than a Monday. You wander a beautiful room, opening drawers, hunting for something, anything to fix. You put on a film, but the laptop stays open on the cushion beside you, just in case. And the instant you sink all the way into the couch, a single thought floats up. What am I forgetting? Sunday evening comes and your chest tightens. It is not Monday you are dreading. It is that somewhere in today there was a soft, empty hour and you did not turn it into anything. You keep promising you will rest once everything is done, but the list is never empty, so the rest never arrives. You just carry it, unpaid, into tomorrow. And here's the part almost nobody says out loud, because it stays buried under the exhaustion. Underneath the inability to stop, there is something real, a capacity to give yourself completely to something, to keep caring long past where most people clock out. That capacity was never the problem. It was never the problem. Somewhere along the way, it got quietly taken, reassigned, turned into a price. Your caring stopped being something you give and became the toll you pay at the door to be let inside. The depth was always yours. The bill someone stapled to it was not. And it costs far more than tiredness. Because rest only shows up when you are too wrecked for anything else. You learn it as collapse, never a choice you made, only a defeat that caught up with you. The people who love you get the leftover version, at the table with them, but with one eye still on the ledger. And here's the strange one. You cannot actually receive. A compliment, an easy afternoon, love you didn't have to earn. It slides straight off because the account only counts what you put in. Even the rest you allow yourself, you quietly ruin. You make it useful. You optimize it. Which means if you are honest, you have never once rested. You have only ever paused with a permission slip in hand. So the obvious move is to give yourself permission. Rest more. Tell yourself it is good for you, that you will come back sharper. And it never works. It never works because every one of those permissions still runs through the same machine. Rest so you will be more productive tomorrow is not freedom. It is the ledger renegotiating its terms. You are still earning the break. You have just found a more respectable way to pay for it. You cannot productivity your way out of this. The problem was never how you rest. The guilt is not a scheduling error on your calendar. It is pointing at something a lot older than that. So here is where it actually started. Long before there was ever a job, there was a small arithmetic you picked up without words. When you achieved, when you were good, useful, impressive, the warmth came in close. And when you did not, something in the room quietly cooled. Maybe nobody meant for it to land that way. Maybe a tired parent just lit up a little brighter for the report card than for the ordinary Tuesday kid. But a child cannot tell the difference between my parent is stressed and I am only safe when I produce. So they swallow the rule whole, be worth it and you get to stay, and turn into a tireless little earner of their own welcome. Researchers call it conditional regard, love that showed up only on delivery. Then the child grows up, moves out of that house, and keeps paying the toll to people who are not even in the room anymore. So there is something to actually do here, and it's not resting harder. It is learning to hear the difference between two voices that have always sounded the same. One says, do this or you are worth nothing. The other says, I care about this, so I am choosing it. Same work, same long hours even, opposite engine underneath. One is a debt, the other is simply yours. And every time the guilt fires the second you sit down, that's one rep. You don't argue with it, you just name it. That is the old rule talking, not the truth. You leave your worth where it is and decline to pay anyway. The first few times it feels like stepping off a ledge into nothing, and then you notice the floor was under you all along.
So if you are the person who cannot do nothing, hear this plainly. The guilt you feel when you finally sit down is not proof that you are lazy. It is not proof that you are falling behind. It is the echo of a child who once needed to be useful to feel safe, and who did such a good job surviving that nobody ever switched the alarm back off. You were not too much, you were not too driven. You were a kid who loved being loved, learned to earn it, and was never once told the earning was allowed to stop. None of this was a choice you made. Your worth was never the kind of thing that runs out when you sit still. It was never on the table to lose. You have been paying for years on a debt that was settled before you could speak. And you are allowed, right now, with nothing finished, nothing proven, nothing owed, to set it down. And you are not alone in this. There is a whole quiet crowd learning the same thing, each one privately convinced they are the only one alive who cannot switch off. They are not. You are not. But there is a harder door just past this one. Because when you set the work down, sometimes someone unfamiliar is standing in the silence where the busyness used to be. You without the title you have been introducing yourself with. When the doing stops, who is left? That is the next one we decode.